if I had more more time and I cared more, I'd probably think of like a song to go along with the 12 issues of Christmas. Like on the first day of Christmas, Boris Johnson is a dickhead. Second day of Christmas, 2 War on Christmas. I don't know, something like that. But I want to go straight into this one because this should go out on Christmas Eve, and I always feel it's good around this time of year to remind people of just how snowflakey and easily offended and whingy right-wing people are. And in Britain, in particular, I would love to be able to highlight this because it literally happens throughout the year. There's a war on Easter. There's a war on the poppies. There's a war on Christmas, and it's completely fucking made up. Of course, it's in the fucking heads. And I'm absolutely certain they do genuinely believe there's a war on it as well. I don't think it's made up outrage on the people's part, even if they've been manipulating to think that. But I do think there's people who genuinely believe there's a war on all these things they like. And some of them take it really far. Now, unfortunately, I would love to do a British video here and do like something with the GB News lot. I'm on about it. But because of Omicron, what I actually found with GB News and other channels, other right-wing channels, is they're focused on COVID restrictions coming back and ruin everyone's Christmas again. Won't stop them voting Tories, 100%. 90% of the people who are mourning about COVID restrictions will not vote for another party other than the Tories. I guarantee it. I bet if they're not going to vote for Tories, they won't vote at all. Or they'll vote for a UKIP, for example. Which is bad, to be honest, anyway. It's its own issue. But they do genuinely believe there's a war on Christmas. But because it's all COVID-related, really, over here at the moment, I couldn't find a war on Christmas video by British people. So I had to rely on America to give me the goods. This was only just put out there by the American Populist Union. The phrase war on Christmas has been devalued to status of joke, a meme evoking thoughts of out-of-touch boomers ranting. Yeah, exactly that, mate. Let's see if you can dismiss my prejudices and show me that there is actually a war on Christmas and that it's worse than I think, apparently. It's worse than you think, this war on Christmas. Let's see what this easily offended right-wing snowflake is moaning about.
There is a war on Christmas. Do not be remiss by this fact. Bill O'Reilly and people like him have over-exaggerated and made a joke of this conversation, debating over red Starbucks-themed Christmas cups in 2016, or in 2018 when the leftists made a fool of this conversation by declaring a war on the song Baby, It's Cold Outside. These silly arguments have made many people think that the war on Christmas is not real, but it really is real. And it's not so much a war on Christmas as much as it is a war on Americanism. Mainly, the American...
Because as we know, Americans invented Christmas. Fucking idiot. Oh, Americans are their own special breed. Right-wing Americans are their own special breed of, like, absolute mongoloid, basically. It's like... this video is going to be mint. I can tell. I won't even need to say much. I bet they defeat themselves.
American tradition. This war on Christmas is encapsulated in 2 key areas: the cultural and the economic. In both areas, the goal of the left and of the establishment is to...
Not a single lefty in the establishment, by the way, in America. I just want to point that out there. The closest left person you have in the establishment is probably AOC and her group that she is grouped in with. And they're not that left, to be honest. They're not really that left. Sorry, mate. But when you're talking about the establishment... This is the guy who would probably unironically say, oh, the establishment. Oh, but you know who's going to fix that? Donald Trump, you know the millionaire who's literally been given everything... and has been corrupt as shit. You know that guy? That's definitely not part of the establishment. He's going to fix it.
To devalue our traditions and the cultural importance of Christianity. The cultural war is all-encompassing, and yes, that includes Christmas and various other holidays. But Christmas especially which is a Christian holiday and has always been. The
No, it hasn't.
myth that it's a pagan holiday is just that.
You can't do that. You can't say, oh, I know you're going to say it wasn't always a Christian holiday because it was a pagan holiday, but that's not true. You can't just say that to an objective fact. There is absolutely no countries in the world that begin with A. And before anyone says Andorra, no, that's not true. Fuck off. You can't just do that. Objectively, Christmas, the traditions we have for Christmas, predate Christianity. That's just a fact. What this guy's probably going to start doing, and Christians do this all the time, Hippy Dippy, Dylan Burns' political show, that's kind of a bit pro wrestling, so that's why I like it, had someone on. He was actually not really a political person. I think he's like a tech guy, actually, but he was on there representing, I guess, like the traditional Christian right wing, so probably not that crazy, to be honest, just very run of the mill. Was saying, was making this distinction between secular Christmas and Christian Christmas, and he wanted a restoration of Christian Christmas. But he brought up an example of, oh, well, I bought a PS5 and I'm going to sell it on at cost to someone else. Oh, really? Because where in the Bible does it say do that? What you're describing there is something that's secular, and the wider tradition of gift giving predates Christianity. And not just like giving gifts in general predates Christianity. I mean, giving gifts for that holiday in particular predates Christianity. And I bet he has a tree up and he has lights up. Once again, you won't find these in the Bible. These are all secular things. And these are the things people do at Christmas, like objectively. This idea of traditional Christian Christmas, to be honest, is made up. I'd go as far as it doesn't exist in the form you think it did. Not really. No one's lost their way with Christmas. No one's forgot the true meaning of Christmas or whatever bullshit label you want to attach to it. It's always been a secular holiday that Christians try to co-opt. And you're now mourning because you didn't successfully do it. And now Christians are basically grouped in with the secular traditions rather than the Christian ones, which is basically just go to church. Very few people actually do that on Christmas these days, at least not in Britain, I'm sure. Like, I don't know a single person who goes to like midnight mass and stuff like that. Not anymore. And basically these Christians are just really bitter that they haven't successfully been able to conquer this winter solstice based holiday that has existed for much longer than Christianity, by at least a millennium, probably before then.
A myth. Some Puritans didn't celebrate the holiday for principled reasons, but not because it...
You know why? Let me continue, because he went to say, like, not because of, but let's see what he actually says.
...was not a Christian holiday. The left declares war on all things American.
Well, he hasn't even answered that question there. Why didn't the pagans the Puritans celebrate Christmas? Could it be because the Puritans very distinctively, as part of the Reformation of the Christian Church in Europe, basically said, we have all these traditions that the church does that actually there isn't any authority for. It's not in the Bible. If it's not in the Bible, we shouldn't be doing it as a tradition. The Puritans recognised that the way people celebrated Christmas had fuck all to do with Christianity and was very secular and based on pagan celebrations, funny enough, based on pagan traditions. So that's the reason they didn't celebrate Christmas, because Puritans rejected anything that wasn't openly said that they do in the Bible. Oh, that's interesting. So actually, to correct you, the reason they didn't celebrate it is because it wasn't Christian anymore. This whole idea of gift giving, putting up lights, putting up tree, this idea of being good to your fellow man at this time of year, and given to charity. Those are not Christian ideals. Not at that time of year. I mean, that's a different issue. It is a Christian ideal that you give to poor and you forego your own earthly possessions in order for a safe passage into heaven. But a lot of the American Christians don't like talking about that one because it means you have to actually be nice to people and not hoard wealth. But yeah, so you're kind of defeating your own argument here once again, Guy.
From our Anglo-Saxon tradition to our enjoyment of baseball games, and of course,
nothing says Christmas like baseball.
They're coming after Christmas. Christmas, a holiday which communicates the importance of family, tradition, and Jesus Christ.
No. Where in the Bible does it talk about family and tradition at Christmas time? Quote a verse for me, please. Jesus Christ, I know what you're going to say, birth of Jesus Christ and all that. Once again, that was added later on. And you know what? The origin story of Jesus Christ, late addition to the Bible, the whole Bible was written before that was added later on. You know why they added it? Because they wanted to add something to co-opt what we now know as Christmas. There was something already happening at that time of year. People were celebrating it, and they were like, oh, well, this is also the birth of Jesus Christ. So you could be celebrating that with us as well. We could celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. You could still have all your pagan stuff, yeah, but you're also celebrating our stuff. So you can be Christian, basically, is what we're trying to say. It's the co-option of this pagan holiday. And I know this guy said, oh, no, it's a myth. Well, make an argument then. You can't just go, it's a myth. All right. I actually have evidence. It's very well known. We have history books. We have historical sources that tells us people had these Christmas traditions predating Christianity and they've been co-opted. We can literally pencil down when the Christians co-opted that holiday and added the Jesus Christ origin story. We can pin down when those things happened. So what do you have, whatever your name is, to prove that that's all a myth and we've been lied to? There's a reason you're not putting that forward in this video.
It teaches the virtues of generous giving and humility in receiving. It is a tradition which has existed.
On which part of the Bible does it say that? Go ahead, tell me.
In European culture for almost 2,000 years. It
existed in European culture for almost 2,000 years. Well, seeing as the Bible wasn't written until 100 years, several hundred years after the alleged life of Jesus Christ, that makes it automatically older than the Bible. Definitely older than when most countries, including Britain, became Christian countries. So even though you're actually underestimating how far back these traditions go, you've already defeated your own argument. Once again, this guy's a fucking idiot. You can tell.
As Western as Buddha is Eastern. And so the natural predisposition of any leftist is to transform
it's on the meme.
Or, in other words, destroy its original meaning. The leftists' goal is to not entirely rid themselves of the Christmas holiday on December 25th, but rather to transform it so drastically that it no longer resembles what Christmas always has been.
So can anyone give me an example of a tradition of Christmas that no longer exists then, or that's been changed drastically? Because I don't know anyone who celebrates Christmas without the tree or the lights. I assume this guy thinks they're part of Christmas, unless he thinks those are secular things, which they are. They are secular things. But unless he thinks that's part of it, but that's literally been done as long as he's already said is Christian tradition. What's your point? What's your point? Incidentally, I want to see if he talks about it, actually. I'll bring it up later if not, but I want to see if he talks about it first.
They attack the Christmas tradition by making it about Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Diwali, or some other pagan or made-up holiday.
Diwali isn't pagan, for a start. Fucking hell. Oh, this guy's an idiot. So I think in his head, anything that's not Christian is pagan. But even so, there's a lot of holidays around this time of the year because all these religions are celebrating the same thing, which is the winter solstice. Weird, that, isn't it? It's just like how lots of religions also have celebrations for, you know, the summer solstice. Crazy, that, isn't it? This guy's an idiot. You can tell. But yeah, that's why we say happy holidays. If that's what he's 100% going to mention, happy holidays instead of Merry Christmas. As we've diversified and we've adopted more cultures, we've been able to recognise that there's actually several holidays around this time of the year because, you know, Christmas is celebrating a pagan holiday traditionally, and if we're going to celebrate Christmas, we may as well adopt all these other ones, including Hanukkah, which is, you know, predates Christmas as well. Just FYI. So yeah, he hasn't made a single argument here. He's just said, look at all these horrible things that are happening to my Christmas. I can't defend the Christmas side of it or say why this is bad, but it's happening, definitely.
Say that in the name of not offending people, we have to stop putting up Christmas trees or Christmas wreaths or nativity scenes.
Christmas trees, Christmas wreaths. Tell me which part of the Bible they're from. Go ahead, give me a quote. Give me a quote that specifically mentions using a pine tree to commemorate something to do with Christ. Go ahead. I thought not. What an absolute moron. Oh, you know those non-secular things like pine trees, which, by the way, wasn't grown in the Middle East, funnily enough. It's like saying a white Christmas is traditional Christmas, according to, you know, the life of Jesus Christ, who spent most of his life in a fucking desert. Fucking hell. This guy's a fucking idiot. Oh, and there's not a single person that's offended if you say Merry Christmas. That's a lie. Like, there's not a single person in the world who would be offended if you said to them Merry Christmas. There's also not... There's probably Christians, some Christians, who get quite offended if you say Happy Holidays because they hate the idea of inclusivity, but most Christians don't mind saying Happy Holidays, actually, if you ask them. Probably this idiot is, but like no one else.
Because it's possible that someone who does not celebrate Christmas might feel like Christmas is being forced upon them by the tyrannical government.
Literally
so they tell us
nothing.
to all say Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Diwali. But then, when they begin to realize that less than 8% of the American population celebrates these other holidays, they know they look ridiculous. And so
that's stupid. So just because the majority of the population does something doesn't mean you treat that like the only thing that exists. That's bollocks. I wonder if this person believes that because the majority of America is white Christian, that laws should exist to improve the lives of white Christians only. I wonder if he'd make that connection, because that's essentially the same argument.
The HR departments and liberal study departments do what they do every time. They move the goalposts. Just how global warming became climate change, no longer was the goal to include everybody by propping up the other.
This guy's an idiot.
No tradition in America. But now the goal was to decrease the stature of every holiday, to combine all the holidays.
This guy's an idiot.
Brief happy holiday mantra is taking Christmas to the lowest denominator, eliminating tradition and any semblance of meaning to any holiday altogether.
Oh, look at that traditional Christian imagery of a pine tree with loads of plastic decorations and lights hanging off it, while a mother kisses a daughter, you know, like it says in the Bible. Very traditional, very, very Christian, that. Not secular at all.
Together. A perfect dystopian happy holiday.
Oh, you know that bit in the Bible where they make cookies shaped like reindeer and gingerbread men? You know where it says that in the Bible, yeah? That traditional Christian imagery of the reindeer. You know the part of the Bible where Jesus meets a reindeer? This guy's a fucking idiot.
Holiday means nothing but big purchases, expensive groceries, and Mariah Carey's hit songs. The University of Maine in 2014 best exemplified this when they banned any and all holiday decorations which were Christmas themed. Presents under trees, wreaths, and even candy canes were banned from campus.
You should be in favour of that then? They are not Christian things, they're secular things. He can't get his argument straight.
But don't be alarmed, because they still allowed for decorative lights and winter-themed decorations. In a statement released,
They're literally the same fucking thing. You can't say, oh, that well, the banned candy canes, traditional candy canes, but not traditional lights. Like, what the fuck's your point? Those things are all secular things. None of them are Christian things. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
the University of Maine said, the university makes every effort to ensure that all its members, students, employees, alumni, and the public feel included and welcomed on campus. Decorations on the UMaine campus are therefore reflective of the diversity found in our community.
Nothing wrong with that statement, really, but like, if what you're saying is true, like they banned candy canes and presents under the tree for reasons of it's too Christian, that's fucking stupid because they're not Christian at all. But
this is an elimination of Christmas for the sake of 7% of the population of the United
States. It isn't,
States,
though, is it?
Which celebrates something different.
The over 93% of the population have not been affected by that at all. They still celebrated Christmas in the same way, 100%. It just so happened that they celebrated it mainly in a secular way, but we won't talk about that.
It is a disgrace, and it happens every year in one way or another. The ACLU targets small town parks, which put up nativity scenes, Christmas trees, or Christmas decorations. Not because...
I'm going to end up repeating myself, but I'm going to stop doing this, but yeah, fucking
they
stupid.
simply want to be legal, but because they explicitly hate America and her traditions.
Oh yeah, you know that nativity scene that takes place in America, apparently. Yeah, you know how America invented all these things. He's a fucking idiot.
If you don't already know, I'll say it again. The goal of the left now is the erasure of Americanism. That means they will not cease until our holidays, traditions, families, and way of life are destroyed. And
but you've just said they put up fucking lights still. He's a fucking idiot. It's not making any sense.
Made meaningless. Christmas is a traditional and valuable.
You know the traditional nutcrackers? They look like little soldiers. You know the Bible with them in?
Holiday. It exemplifies the sacrifice that are found in most traditional communities. And so, one cannot discuss the destruction of Christmas without discussing the economic changes.
See that? That's all happened. That's near Jerusalem, this, I can tell. This is near Bethlehem, Nazareth, yeah, you can tell by the landscape. The desert, Jesus spent 40 days and 40 nights or whatever, is nearby this. And that's why he ran into the traditional Christian reindeer, and he cut down the traditional Christian pine tree.
Which have taken place over the last half century. No longer is Christmas about generosity and giving and humility and receiving gifts. No longer is it a reflection on the
that still all happens, and it's a secular thing once again.
Jesus Christ. No longer
one gives a fuck about the birth of Jesus Christ, made up, but whatever.
Is it a time to cherish family and community, but
literally still happens. We're kicking off in Britain because last year we missed out on this because of COVID restrictions. I explained this in my last video, but the Tories forgoed those rules and did it anyway. They broke their own rules because they thought they'd get away with it. Literally a debate happening over here. Still happening. People still value their families at Christmas. That hasn't changed.
Instead, it has been devalued into a mass consumption event. The clothes, the toys, the cells, the dills. It's corporate.
That's not fucking new. That's literally existed. It literally is part of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. It's existed to it from at least the Victorian times, and once again, the gift giving, the consumerism, if you want to go that far, predates Christianity to some extent. If you're mourning that businesses are capitalising on the holiday to make more money and are profiteering from it, well done, you've just attacked capitalism. Welcome to socialism. But I bet he wouldn't say that, though. He wouldn't outright go, oh, well, I'm actually a socialist, I'm against capitalism. Oh, no, he won't be actually against it. But that's actually what his argument's against. No, he has to make it a thing where the left, all those all those leftists, those communist, lefty, socialists who all own retail outlets and are selling loads of presents over the fucking Christmas holidays. All them. All those, all those socialists promoting mass consumerism. You were a fucking idiot, dude. Oh, I'd be fucking embarrassed if I was part of the American right now. I really would. I'd be so fucking embarrassed by this video.
And fake. It has lost its soul. It has become a revenue optimization strategy by the sales teams at Walmart, Target, Amazon.
Oh, those lefties over at Amazon. Google.
Any other retail store which sells goods. Mass consumerism has crippled the nature of Christmas. Christmas is not the end-all be-all of this cultural battle. Many of you might think we're over-exaggerating, but we highlight...
Said Christmas on that fucking... This guy would 100% say Obama's a loony lefty and socialist, communist, Muslim, whatever, and he hates Christmas. That's what this guy would 100% believes. Yeah, that little caption there put on by the White House literally said Christmas. It's fucking entirely made up.
The importance of fighting for every inch in the cultural battle that we're a part of. And so, we must. When the left seeks to take a traditional American holiday and turn it into something which is multicultural for no reason other than their vitriol towards America, we must fight against that. And now, they do the same thing to Independence Day.
One would argue that Americanizing Christmas was one way that Christmas tradition was bastardized and changed. One would argue that when Christians adopted this winter solstice holiday of Saturnalia and turned this pagan holiday and co-opted it into a Christian holiday, one would argue that when that went over America and you guys commercialized it and stuff like that, and you picked its icon of Santa Claus and stuff like that. Santa Claus predates America as well, by the way, in certain forms. But the way you changed it and you made all the imagery quite iconic and quite uniform, one would argue that was the first real example of Christmas being bastardized and the true meaning being lost. I wouldn't make that argument because it's bullshit. For the same reason your current argument's bullshit. But this proper reminds me of Mormons. I won't go into Mormonism, but it does proper remind me of Mormons who kind of go like, "Oh, you know that story? Yeah, well, this hidden sequel, you see, there's this DLC. Actually, we're the chosen people." This idea that you're actually pro-tradition, but you openly are against tradition because you're so focused on America, which is a very young country. There's literally buildings in my town older than America, and my town is not a major town. He's a fucking idiot.
Columbus Day and Thanksgiving. This will only continue. How long until the American people realize that their tradition is being destroyed?
Oh, what's his issue with that? When pilgrims arrived on the Mayflower in 1620, they didn't bring thanks. They didn't even give thanks. Instead, they brought racist genocide and gave nothing. His issue is that he's anti-history and he doesn't like being reminded that maybe his ancestor did something bad at some point. If they were even his ancestors, he might not be from the Pilgrims. He might have been an immigrant, or an ancestor of an immigrant that came after them. We just like this idea of the founders of America maybe weren't as honourable as he previously was told in church and school, I guess.
This will only continue. How long until the American people realize that their tradition is being destroyed while they indulge, while their mind becomes numb by mass consumerism? That will only happen when we continue to tell them what we need to do to continue fighting this guerrilla culture war. The institutions have overwhelmingly been lost. There is a means of defiance in other areas. School boards, local officials, some federal officials, and government officials are willing to push back against the destruction of our culture. We must encourage this and work within our own communities to teach the meaning of Christmas and fight significant cultural battles. There are economic measures which can promote businesses allowing workers to have the day off on key holidays, which can incentivize family celebration and church attendance.
Just become a socialist, dude. It's probably weird, this. He's making arguments against America's really toxic work culture. You know, like the lefties do. Except he's going like, and we should use those extra workers' rights to indoctrinate them into our religion. No, just give them more liberty and freedom. Surely that's the goal, and they can do whatever they want with it. If they choose to go to religion with it, that's fine. But oh fucking hell, this guy is a fucking idiot. I can't emphasize that enough.
The goal should be to push the Overton window further to the right, and in reality, back to the center. The goal should not be to make...
How fucking stupid do you have to be to think the Overton window is not far right enough? You're literally calling... You're literally at the point in America where a centre-right politician like Joe Biden is, for you, a communist and a socialist. That's how far the Overton window's drifted to the right. And you're sitting there and you're saying, we need to take it further. Why? So Mussolini would also be centre-right now or something. He actually probably would be centre-right these days, based on what this guy's saying, but fucking hell.
Religion accepted again in government, but to make it dominant again. We must profess the importance of tradition and economic restraint to restore the soul to Christmas and defeat.
He wants theocracy, so is what he's saying.
David Carlson with the American Populist Union. If you,
I did not think he would look like that, mate. We could have a fight, right? And people get confused between us. I have a better hairline than you, I think, though. But my Christmas jumper's also there. Nice traditional, Santa, traditional Christian Santa in space, traditional Christian space. The traditional Christmas unicorn. He's also got a sword. Like Santa does. Where's the sword? There it is. The traditional Christian sword that he has at Christmas time. Yeah.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
I've enjoyed this video, and don't worry.
Merry Christmas.
I'm gonna share it.
And to all a good night. We're gonna make a video about tradition. What it means to believe.
I'm watching that then.
What a traditionalist actually is. Do you have any ideas for videos that we should make regarding history, politics, economics, foreign policy?
Yeah, I want you to respond to me, really. I want you to make an argument. That's what I want you to do, mate.
I'm super interested in interacting with you guys. Make sure to check out the website and join the email list. We'll interact with you there if you want to volunteer.
Wow.
We're always looking for people that are capable of editing, graphic design, script writing for our content team. Sorts of things, so you can check the link out in the description below. Go to our website. And,
my computer's running slow. I'm trying to pause it, but never mind. So, American Populist Union. I am going to subscribe. Because I want to see what you do next. This is... What a face. Oh, is it on purpose that it abbreviates to a poo? Oh, wow. I want to know what you guys do next, because that was fucking pathetic. That was fucking awful. If you want my suggestion on what I'd like you to do next, I'd like you to put out a video just making an argument, just backing up anything you're saying. Because as far as I can gather from this video, you feel the war on Christmas is where people are doing things from pagan times instead of doing other things from pagan times. Because they're not Christian, or they're not doing the mass as well, and they're taking away other pagan stuff like the tree and the decorations and the lights. the fucking gift giving, you know, like it all says in the Bible. It was just a fucking stupid. So as far as your description went, the phrase "war on Christmas" has been valued at the status of a joke. You have helped with that devaluing. The meme invoking thoughts of out of touch boomers ranting. I don't know if you're a boomer, but you definitely got the mindset of a boomer. Ranting about red Starbucks cups. That was the fucking equivalent. But the anti-cultural assault on Christmas is very real. No, it isn't. You've demonstrated it's not. It is very important. No, it isn't. You've demonstrated it's not. And its implications go further than just the holiday of Christmas. No, it does not. You've demonstrated that in the video. Your complete lack of anything of substance there. It was pathetic. If you made a list of traditional Christian Christmas, half of that list is going to be secular stuff. And you didn't mention something that is one of the oldest Christmas traditions, which is drinking, you know, making merry. Saturnalia was traditionally a time to celebrate the winter solstice where everyone just went insane. They got drunk as fuck. They went out and partied. Some got into fights for fun. And that was a big part of that celebration. And part of the Christian co-opting of Christmas tried to minimise that. And they tried to sort of say that's not part of it. And it failed. It's one of the biggest Christian failures when they try to co-opt this holiday, because that still exists. When you mentioned the Pilgrims there, you touched on a really interesting point, which is they didn't celebrate Christmas. But you didn't explain why. You said, no, it wasn't because it wasn't a Christian holiday, but you didn't say why they stopped celebrating Christmas. Because the reality is, there's no other explanation. The reason they stopped celebrating Christmas is because they recognise that Christmas is not in the fucking Bible at all, by the way. There's none of the traditions that you would call a Christian tradition is in the Bible. The Pilgrims were very switched on about that. The Pilgrims left Britain because it wasn't strict enough. They left Europe, basically. They left Europe because the Reformation at the time, coming from the direction of Martin Luther and the subsequent sort of reformist Christians, they didn't feel it went far enough. Elizabeth II, not Elizabeth I, sorry, not Elizabeth II. Elizabeth II is the current one. Elizabeth I tried to find a middle ground between the Protestants and the Catholics to try and find a third way, middle way, if you will. And the Pilgrims thought it wasn't good enough. Puritans, they were called back then. The Puritans think it didn't go far enough, and that's why they started to leave. The lack of religious persecution in their favour was horrendous to them. They wanted to get rid of all the secular stuff, so that's why they stopped celebrating Christmas. They recognised that Christmas, as it was being celebrated, was still very pagan and didn't have any Christianity in it, because you will not find in the Bible any mention of Christmas. The birth of Christ is a late addition anyway, but in that birth of Christ you will not find anything about pine trees, you will not find anything about reindeer or Santa Claus. Gift giving you can only trace down to the three kings, but once again we know where they got the gift giving idea from, and it was from the pagans. And you won't find anything about making merry, because once again that was a pagan idea that they tried to get rid of but failed. And yeah, you name it, you name a traditional Christian Christmas thing and it'll have links to paganism. They're a much bigger channel than me, obviously. I'm a very tiny channel still, and that needs to improve, guys. Share me about, get me more subscribers. But I'm tiny, so you're not going to see this. But if he did, I'd be very interested to see if he actually responded. Because to be honest, guys, this guy's a fucking idiot. I can tell. I doubt he'd be able to respond. But either way, challenges out there. Let's wrap this up. Second issue of Christmas, eh?